Back in May, I was able to check out the old Highmark Stadium and the construction progress of the new Highmark Stadium. This means we're back in the Buffalo area, this time just outside Buffalo in Orchard Park. If you didn't know, Old Highmark is where the Bills currently play, and just across the street, they're building the new Highmark Stadium where the Bills will play. Today's video, we're going to start off with the old Highmark Stadium, and then we'll move on to the construction of the new Highmark Stadium. Highmark Stadium opened up back in 1973, has a current capacity of 71,608. It's hard to tell though because the entire lower bowl is located below grade, so you really can't see much of it when you're standing at street level. Overall, the stadium is fairly symmetric, and it has an upper deck located on each sideline, and that's what you can see above grade. This is walking along the exterior of the northeast side of the stadium. Like I said, from the outside, you really can't see a whole lot other than the upper deck, and it's pretty basic. You know, for a stadium built in '73, it's not very flashy on the outside. The Bills have the main video board. It's still not very large. This is a view from the back side of it. The way the stadium's oriented, it's not oriented in a true northeast southwest pattern, so I guess you could call this the west side. On the right side of the screen, you can see that same video board. Again, not very large. If you look below that video board, you'll see what looks like a white box. They call these the West End Zone suites just below the video board. These are located at grade, and that's why I would say this is the west side, given the fact they call these the West End Zone suites. This is moving down to the southeast corner of the stadium, so opposite end zone from where that video board is. It's similar to the west end zone, but you're going to see a little bit more structure in this end zone. When you were looking at the west end zone, it was really just a single level of suites. In this end zone, they have what's called the Bud Light Club. It's multi-story. Above that club, they have a small video board. You can see the white steel framing behind that video board. I mentioned before that this stadium is more or less symmetric, especially on each sideline. So if you go to the opposite corner of that same stadium end zone, then you have the M&T Club, which looks pretty much the same as the Bud Light Club. Then you have the video board on top as well. One thing I've always noticed about Highmark Stadium is the 4 towers. They have 2 towers on each sideline. When you're watching a game inside, you can see the towers sticking up above the seats, and they're somewhat visible. On the outside, they're very prominent, and I think they do a good job of, they say the name of the stadium, they have the Bills logo, and I think they incorporate it well in the stadium. Behind the scoreboard on the west end zone, they have the Bills store. This is actually a pretty new team store. If you go on Google Maps, when I was looking up, they were actually still showing the store under construction on Google Maps. The Bills' practice facilities are right adjacent to the Highmark Stadium. This is in the southeast corner of the current stadium. One thing I noticed driving out to Highmark Stadium is it's really kind of out by itself. You do have some neighborhoods around, and of course there's a Tim Hortons because Tim Hortons are everywhere. But other than that, it's more or less pretty out in the open. You have the parking lot and the fields. We noticed one bar on the same street as the stadium within walking distance. It's this Prohibition 2020 bar. So if you're looking for a bar right next to the stadium during game day, you come check this place out. The other thing I thought was interesting is it reminded me of Green Bay, where you have the stadium, then you have this large parking lot around it, and across the street you have houses right there that just look into the stadium. So I was like, wow, this is pretty impressive, similar to Green Bay. Everybody hears about Green Bay and their housing, didn't really hear about it going to Buffalo. Give you a little overview, you have Highmark Stadium, and then there's the practice facility that we talked about. If you keep pounding around, then you have the housing I was talking about, and then if you keep going, you see the new stadium, Highmark Stadium, in the distance. Out beyond the team store, you have Founders Plaza, and they have this statue with a plaque that talks about Ralph Wilson Jr. Most of the stadium's located below grade, but it causes a real wind tunnel through the stadium. And I got to say, when we were out there, the wind was howling. You could definitely see how it would have a big impact on the game, even though the stadium is built below grade. This is just kind of showing off how the wind was blowing. I would say this was a pretty typical day out there, and you can still see the flags howling. This is going to wrap up the old Highmark Stadium. Unfortunately, when we went out there, they weren't giving tours. It was the off season. It's Memorial Day weekend, so everything was closed up, so we could only walk around it. Hoping to go back, give a little bit more information. So given the fact we didn't go into it, this is all we're going to talk about for now. At this point, we're going to shift gears to the new Highmark Stadium. This is the big talk of the town in Buffalo, so I'm excited to talk about this. New Highmark Stadium is opening up in 2026. It's going to have a capacity of 62,000, which is close to 10,000 seats less than the current stadium, even though it looks a lot bigger, given the fact it's mostly all above grade. When I went out to New Highmark Stadium, it was an active construction site, so obviously I was not able to get a tour. You can walk around it, but they do have a construction fence all around it. They did top off steel, though, by the time that I went out. New Highmark Stadium is going to be a sleek, modern-looking bowl-shaped stadium. It's going to be open air like the current stadium. There will be a little bit of covering for the fans, though. I've always liked the old stadium, so we'll see how the new one is. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and it probably will be a lot better than the old one. But till it actually gets built, the verdict will be out in the air on how it actually is. Given the fact that the stadium's still under construction and I wasn't able to go into it, I'm not going to go into every detail of what the stadium's going to entail. I think once it gets built, I want to go back out here and then we can really give an actual tour of this and put it back on the channel. I just wanted to come out here during construction, show you what's going on. I'm always curious what the construction progress looks like, and hopefully you guys are curious as well. Every video I like to throw in a photo of myself at the stadium shows I was actually there. So this time I figured I would throw a photo of myself standing between the new and the old Highmark Stadium. Again, a little different than my typical videos, but this wraps up the tour of the new and old Highmark Stadium.